want me to post, you want me to give to ask Dr. Ako John, feel free to send it to me per WhatsApp, and I'll definitely try to read your questions. Now, I said, you know, as I do it on this show, I know they always like to say, me will enter show, we will never take greetings. Well, I never take when I salute them. So, I see what they happen for Facebook. I see what they happen for social media. I want to take 1 or 2 salutes them before we proceed. And while I prepare for take 1 or 2 salutes them, make when I click on the share button as when I join. When I click on the share button as when I join, so that make we get enough people. More we get enough people, may they can hear this special message, may they can hear this, may they can participate for this special interview with Dr. Ako John Ako. Before we proceed, so my beloved friends, please do us a favor as you join. I want you to click on the share button as you join. Click on the share button as you join, so we can get our guest. We don't have to keep Dr. Ako John waiting for so long. You know, he is a very busy man. He is a very busy man. So I don't want us to keep him waiting for so long. Let's click on the share button. Invite someone. Many of you have been writing me, hey, Mr. Nanchop, are you not coming live again? I'm sorry, we had some technical issues and we had to get that sorted out so that we can get Dr. Ako John connected to this live podcast. So my friends and fans, brothers and sisters, welcome to today's edition of Amber Voice with Mr. Nanchop. Please, as I say, as we always do it on the show, as you join, click on the share button. Now I'm going to play the anthem. You know, our anthem that we would like for year and plenty. Make I put that anthem, make we no miss am. Oh.
Hey, yeah. So one day for refugee camp, for every nation for this world. When you go there, you go see there. So one day for street. So one day they sleep for motor for Nigeria. You go see them there. Papa God, oh when Gazume, yes so we're a wow. Oh make we pray, oh make we pray, oh make we pray, oh make we pray, oh make we pray. Prayer is a key. Hey Jesus, make we pray. When he ching, I'm a wapa menda, better for one sote. I am a yasa, better for one baba. I'm a way pona, chiwan more chuban again. I'm a yana one who can get, buffer ton and never jimashi. I live in a world, papa, and never jim buffer tono. Masuna Paxico, and Nijim I make. Oh, yes, so we're a wow. Yes, so we're a wow. Kaya we're a wow, Baba. We're a wow. Yes, so we're a wow. My village, my gym, that's southwest and northwest. Bufa Tonashi, Bufa Yadame. Yes, so we're a wow. Better again. My year of one by Gunga again. And when I Gunga again, and when I survive. Yes, so Christo, Papa, we're a wow. We're a wow. Papa, we're a wow. All villages in northwest and southwest are damaged. Where we go run to, Papa, help us. Deliver us, Papa. Oh, give us victory. Victory is all we ask. Papa give us victory, oh. Money for you some more. In a day. Even job for chop, in a day.
So, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fans of Mr. Nanchop, welcome to this special edition of Amber Voice with Mr. Nanchop. You guys who know us what they do, who know life will waste on a time, and as I say, I'd always give them a promise. So once we reach at least 100 viewers on Facebook alone, we'll start, and we're already there above 100 viewers right now. So I don't see any reason for me for keeping again for the wait. Now my papa and my mommy there, my brothers and my sisters there. I get some small few announcements and for me come. This COVID-19 where people they talk about a serious thing. I beg, make una take them serious and make una protect una self, because we no want make anything happen for una. We no want say me wa papa them where they get for the enjoy, where they don't suffer for we. Now we don't be big, we don't become strong, and we fight for a better future. We no want say me they can't die with the no chopper. We no enjoy them. And we don't look and say this sickness, this one a sickness where it tell us say you not liking our people. So papa and mommy the most especially. When I try to protect yourself and when I take these preventive measures there for avoid this thing make you no spread. I beg una the kind of videos them and images where I see them where they come from back home, we know they feel happy. Say people need to take this thing serious. More be careful, I beg. So I know I waste on a time. I go bring straight one of my beloved friends, somebody I cherish a lot, one great person, a great brain, and somebody will be a great inspiration for most of us, the younger people, for this generation. Where he named a barrister Ako John Ako. I could bring you straight on the screen and go live for welcoming. Good evening, Dr. Ako John Ako.
Yeah, once more, the people like this.
Thank you. Can you get me, sir?
Very well. I'm getting you very well.
Great, excellent. Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm pleased to have you today on my personal platform on Facebook. We have a lot of people who are happy to see you. The younger generation, we are inspired by your political skills, your political knowledge, and of course, we know that you are someone who stands for political justice. Your analysis are always the best. I will say that, I can say that, and I can also confirm that not everybody might like your analysis because you are a very frank and open-minded person and you say it just the way it has to be said. Well, I am glad to have you on this particular platform today. Firstly, I want to send special greetings to our beloved people living back home, and I also want to ask you, how is the situation right now at ground zero, where precisely where you live, talking about the COVID-19. We've been hearing about this COVID-19. What updates can you give us about the COVID-19, most especially in your area where you live? How is the situation like?
Hello?
Yes, sir, we can get you.
Yes. Yeah, of the things we can say with justice, or you imagine that with the COVID-19 saga came to Cameroon, and at the beginning it was like a political exercise. Today, Cameroonians are now believing that it really exists. And I believe the feeling in Cameroon is not different from what we might be having in other African countries, that most often than not, we always like to see it happening. People need to see others dying before coming to accept that it is a reality. And that in every level, we must at one point try to contain it. And then you realize that the traditional practices of Africans have always been that one must be sick and that your neighbor might have been complained dead, or that, I don't know, some thinking that it was just a joke since the neighbor had not died yet. And this is giving us the way that the information and the system within, and it's still telling us that really in many parts of the world, people still live in peasant behavior. This is what we had here. But today now Cameroonians with over 1,000 cases reported believe that it is a reality, and people seeing the way others are presently dying, they are now accepting with the authorities that the COVID-19 or the coronavirus might have come to live permanently in Africa, and that more victims will come in the days ahead if care is not taken. We have to jointly, like we said several times, that Africans need to adapt with a movement of policies and politics, educationally wise, religiously wise, and that if we stay on the pole, on the armchair, that nothing is happening lying to ourselves. We have been those whom we call whistleblowers to people to be conscious and sincere that the coronavirus is a deadly disease, and that the more we take upon ourselves to fight it, as early as we were saying, in fact, it took the government of Cameroon over a month to come out and take serious measures. And how serious these measures are may be type of things we are going to see in the days ahead. But I will still tell you that the behavior of Cameroonians and many others around had not really changed, because when you look at what we call the face mask, like we said in the past and in other mediums, that the face mask in Africa has become just an atmosphere to run away from police arrest. Some people don't even know why they should even wear a face mask, feel like it is a joke, and that they can only put it on when they know that they are approaching a police control. And you can imagine the analysis that have been given by the Minette, Biden's, and the World Health Organization, telling us that we might die and die like chickens within the streets, and that in the days ahead, it is possible that we are going to carry corpses on the streets littered all over throughout Africa, from north to west, east to south. And there is a lot that we have on our table. I will tell you, I believe maybe in the course of your program, if a lot of those questions can drive my mind to, then we have to discover the stalemate in a country like where we are. You can imagine that how many Cameroonians will be capable of purchasing a face mask. And we are still waiting that the government could distribute this, because with government authorities, they might give instruction to companies at a very cheap and a flat rate that they can easily share freely. Like I said on TV, in many streets in London or in the United States or in many other streets in France, what is a face mask? It is just a common and the least equipment against COVID-19.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful elaboration. I think this is sickening to see that most people don't take this serious. And my encouragement, all we can say to that is, Papa and Mamida, brothers and sisters, this thing is serious. Listen, I've often said that life is not a game. Life is not a Nintendo game. So we can't just be playing with our lives. We don't want to wait and see before we believe. Please, let's stop being the Thomases. This thing is serious. We will be doing ourselves justice and some help in trying to prevent this sickness from spreading. We know it has come to our area. It is in the neighborhood. So we should keep these social distances. It's our responsibility to protect ourselves from this killer disease, COVID-19. Now, with that being said, we can only say those things. We can only give the advices, but for those advices to be implemented demands our individual responsibility. Apart of that, Dr. Ako, I want to ask you another question. If you should describe the present situation of La République du Cameroon right now, what would you say? I'm talking about the present atmosphere, because there are a lot of things we've been hearing that have been happening in the past days. There are a lot of things that are happening right now. If you should describe the present state and situation or atmosphere of that country, what would you say? How would you best describe it to your own opinion?
Yeah, it will depend. It will depend in which domain and in which atmosphere you want us to describe, because really Cameroon has become so controversial in recent days. Remember very strongly that one of the most controversial issues was saying the disappearance of the head of state, the President of the Republic of Cameroon, His Excellency Paul Biya, whom so many have said he was dead, and others said his reappearance might be indicating that he has resurrected and that he is similar to the story of Lazarus in the Bible, that Jesus woke him up from death. And I would still tell you that within my honest opinion, I told several Cameroonians that the issue of the death of the president is a political maneuver, and most of it might or was done to render the president more popular than he has been. And that several times when we realized after the 2018 elections, there was a drop in the popularity of the head of state, and there was a need to augment or increase it. I remember very strongly that some time ago, the same nation, Cameroon, marched at the French embassy in Yaoundé, telling us that France is not, or in fact, Cameroon is a sovereign state, and that they will not allow the French Republic to intervene into the internal affairs of this government. Now, what we realize that the reappearance of the head of state, in fact, speaking and meeting the French ambassador in Cameroon, was simply maneuvered and pushed forward by the President Emmanuel Macron, the President of the French Republic. It is a need. There was a need for the President of Cameroon to come physically so that Cameroonians can be contented of seeing him alive, because there was fear, and there was also another saga within the same time trying to render the son, Frank Biya, was become a talk in social media that he was surely being prepared to take over from his father. And those are some of the things that have taken us to this line. Again, the most controversial, I will tell you that we come back to this COVID-19 stuff, where when we look at the press, when we look at what they call the cellule contre the coronavirus, otherwise we call them what we call the coordination commission that was created to fight against this virus. I think Cameroonians were aware of knowing how many people are affected, how many people are hospitalized, how many have been healed or treated, how many have been discharged from hospitals. But now you realize that they decided to move on another domain of not giving out information. They feel administratively that giving out information was a problem to Cameroonians, and that it may be creating a lot of fear within Cameroonians and panic for not interacting, which I believe was instead a controversy. How do we create fear? Maybe it was poorly interpreted, because I think giving out information to Cameroonians only just be an instrument of creating consciousness and making the people of Cameroon vigilant and know how consequent, in fact, how devastating this coronavirus pandemic is. We need to be very strong. The coronavirus in Cameroon, the task force that was made by the minister, and we still have very few centers. I believe very strongly you know how remote Cameroon is. I don't know how somebody that will be sick of coronavirus in Yagua can be carried over to the center in Yaoundé, or the one in Bafoussam, or the one in Douala. We are talking of the one in Bamenda, and again, the measures taken in the southwest region. These are some of the consequences. And within, again, you remember how ugly poverty has been instilled and managed and instituted by the present regime, that poverty should be an instrument of controlling human beings. Remember that Cameroon remains the least country within the CEMAC region, in not only the CEMAC, within West and Central Africa, with the lowest salary paid. And imagine what people who live now without or meager or reduced salary rate. A lot of others have been asked to go home and wait until when COVID is over, then they can be called for jobs. Is the government there? Some are even afraid that if they go to report of the government, they might instead receive a sack letter, and that when the situation will get on better, they might not even be called over. it is really a controversy. I mean, politically, socially, education-wise, we are still to see that the government has announced that school might on the 1st of June 2020, but we need to see a calendar from the government how these things will be done. They will tell us that we are always in haste, but I believe as a state authority, we need to be proactive rather than reactive. And if you become so reactive, a lot of incidents or changes may take you unaware, and you will not be capable of managing it at the time you are supposed to manage. So in Cameroon, really, I would tell you that the economy is getting down. We are losing billions every day, economically. Politically, a lot of leaders have decided to surrender their move, and others, you see them chanting the same system or the songs of the winning or the ruling party. Many others, because of stomach or egoistic self-centered tendencies, have decided to align. Those are some of the petty problems. I mean, petty details I may present before you and all those who are listening to us at this very moment.
Well, from what you just said, I want to bring our attention back to one fact. Now, there have been rumors in the past, which I personally I've monitored the social media, and I've been looking forward to get this information, but I haven't yet gotten it. Mr. Biya, the president of La République du Cameroun, is still yet to address his country about the COVID-19. Now, we've seen around the countries in the world, most head of states, almost all the head of states or presidents of their individual countries have addressed these issues. Now, we saw what happened just of recent, which you made mention of, the visit, the so-called, I'll put in quote, the visit of the so-called France ambassador, because there are a lot of controversies about if those images are real, if they were pirated, if they were manipulated just to deceive the public. Now, what will it take a president, a person who has been in power for over 40 years, I mean, counting the years he was in power when he was the prime minister leading and then becoming the president. What will it take him at moments like these to address the country, his country? He claims to be the president of that country. What will it take him to come forward? Is there a political game in this thing? How does the people of La République du Cameroun, how do they look at this? How are they taking this particular fact that their president cannot address them when other presidents are addressing their nations?
Yeah, it is right that human being is free to think the way we are thinking now, and even the international community, likewise Cameroonians. But one thing I will equally like to draw to the attention of the audience, and maybe equally those in the diaspora, President Paul Biya has never been a talking president. President Paul Biya has even instrumentalized or institutionalized silence as an act of governance. Remember, some time ago, he went to Switzerland and spent over 35 days, more than constitutional days provided, and there were rumors in Cameroon that the head of state is there. Remember, he did not even give a speech from Switzerland. He expected to land at the airport, then to promise Cameroonians that all those who wish for his death can come to his burial in 20 years' time. And remember again, there are a lot of theses, academic theses and academic journal articles, textbooks have been written about le silence présidentiel, which, if you can get what I'm telling, le silence présidentiel, which equally gives us an indication that the silence of the head of state in Cameroon has always been an act of governance, and that every time he comes later, I'm telling you that his popularity equally moves up. He will not even imagine that some of the caprices and other, what I call them, those the surrogates of the to the palace, a lot of the civilian people that were not sure of his whereabouts were again happy equally to have seen the images, and so everybody celebrated. You could imagine the flooded information from the regime that came on social media after this particular visit. I will tell you, just of recent, you can equally imagine how it took the same president to address the Anglophone problem officially. In fact, it took him less. It took the head of state of Cameroon in a country he has declared war and was at war with 3 years to speak publicly of resolutions that have been arrived at. So I believe very strongly that the President of the Republic of Cameroon used silence as an act of governance, and several times Cameroonians should not even think that is a defect to him. It instead renders him stronger and make him more popular within the ruling elite. Remember very strongly that in Africa, and especially Francophone Africa, French government or the French authority or the French colonized elite left what we call people than stronger institutions. So this is one of the strong persons they left in Africa, which is over 40 years today. If we talk of the time he came to government, he was in government at age 27. This same person has been in government over 60 years. And I believe if they were not comfortable, whenever the French regime was comfortable with a ruling Africa or a sitting president, they know exactly what they have done. I'm not telling you of what happened to the Thomas Sankara in the Burkina Faso, or what recently happened with the Muammar el-Gaddafi in Libya. And a lot of that, we cannot get into more details because it is not the cause of our topic today. But the silence of the head of state in Cameroon, I'm still telling you that until you have been within academic ranks, you will realize that it has been an instrument of governance, and at times not only governance. Don't even forget that if he comes out now, he will tell Cameroonians that he has never seen a ghost, a living ghost, and that vous me voici dans un fantôme au palais de l'unité. And you can imagine that he will start of Cameroonians to tell them that a ghost is now ruling. And you remember that word may become one of the most discoveries of the 21st century. Every word he has always used, les apprentis sorciers, ce qui veut maman va attendre après 20 ans. It becomes a silent instilled in a Cameroonian's brain, and he has always been like he's the greatest man. And people telling you that how he's a great politician, he's powerful. Silence of the head of state is an instrument of governance, and that to me, it has never baffled me. I had real information that the head of state of Cameroon is well and alive, but his health permitted him to be very strong to do official duties, but he is comfortable and comfortably executing his matrimonial and family obligations, most often closer with those who are palace, or not even the palace in Yaoundé, but equally the palace in Vomeka.
Well, thank you for that piece of information. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, in his book, 7 Deadly Sins, the 7-point states that if there is no principle, there is no true north. Nothing you can depend on. I repeat, if there is no principle, there is nothing you can depend on. Addressing politics. Now, I know you are a political analyst, and I know you are somebody who you can tell us, you can elaborate a lot when it comes to politics. Now, let's talk about politics and principles, most especially with respect to La République du Cameroun. As a political analyst, if you should describe the political situation of La République du Cameroun right now, if you should address that country's political atmosphere and political system, strategy and policies, would you be bold to say that it's productive and successful?
The question in politics, they will tell you that it is difficult to answer whether a system is successful or it has failed while the system is still in power, because one of the virtues and the victory of politics is the act of maintenance in power as long as it could take. And I'm telling you here that if the head of state and the present regime have succeeded since 1982, is the research quest of longevity in power. And they will tell you that they have been doing that very well. They won the elections in 1992, and any other elections they have been winning with a landslide victory. So to what successful we are when politically examined, you realize that President Paul Biya has become a powerful president. I was staying somewhere and I told people, how can a nation, how can a people keep on praying for the death of their president to change him? It will mean that the individual is more powerful than them, and they are now depending on forces to change his course. I have not believed that changing a leadership or changing should happen through a killing or to the assassination of another leader. If you assassinate or you another individual to die before you come to take up power, it simply means that that individual was physically, materially, spiritually stronger than you are. And so this politics is within the presidential palace, within the New Deal regime, from 1982, they have successfully maintained power. I mean, they will still tell you, and they will keep on telling you that they have successfully maintained power for over 38 to 40 years. That which we cannot dispute it, because you can remember several regimes. They have same president on some time. That's pas celui qui veut, mais celui qui peut. That's how time and again they use those principles, and they keep on winning. It doesn't matter whether they can kill and assassinate the whole Cameroon to reign. The fact is they're still ruling. When you're not comfortable, you can take them out, but if you cannot take them, they remain stronger. But we can look at dimension. You look at the social dimension, you look at the economic dimension. When you look at the social dimension, we are talking of education. What are Cameroonians presently writing home about education? When you find the highest brain, top intellectuals in Cameroon becoming totally politicians instead of staying schools to teach everybody launder continuously for political appointment. There are a lot of those issues that which we look at again. You look at our youths today, where are they? A lot of them are moving out to quest for real education. And that time and again, those who are not within the presidential place in Cameroon cannot benefit. Meaning education is not meant for those who go abroad. When you go abroad, you come with a certificate. These are the people who are appointed. These are the people who are recruited. Those who went to school in Cameroon are now just there to fill the blank spaces. And we are not talking of the COVID-19. Have you heard of any investment? What generated? What have we invented? We now came with local masks. Has the government invented any measure to sanitize these local masks that are made? Health-wise, you realize the sector is failing. Health-wise, members of government keep on carrying medical consultation abroad. Thank God the coronavirus has come. They will learn to take the paracetamol back at home. You can look at it in many other dimensions. Since 1972, that Cameroon, I'm talking of the social domain, since 1972, the Cameroonian government hosted the African Nations Cup. It is again another 50 years after before a nation could dream of handling such a football jamboree, the highest of its time within the continent. And you can see a lot of that within the social environment. What of road infrastructure? Are all Cameroonians linked to their political capital, divisional headquarters or regional headquarters by bitumen routes? It is not. These are some of the things I'm thinking that economically, the franc CFA, to which Cameroon is a member, remains one of the lowest rated finance or currency in the whole world, talk less of Africa. There are a lot of those things. Do we have a central bank? Can we control our own currency? Can we also produce and sell? Cameroonians are now eating what you know locally. Maybe before you left Cameroon, there's what we call the ecom-yam. This is what we are being fed off now by Nigerians. I mean, in a land where the soil is fertile. Remember today, a lot of the farmlands have been abandoned. Cocoa and coffee production has dropped drastically. Can we survive those sectors that the economy was depending on? Can we produce? Are we producing anything in Cameroon? Are Cameroons capable of inventing and bringing us to the top level of the world? You remember a lot of scientists, those scientists have been appointed directors and ministers. They stay at the ministry and now cannot go to the laboratory. Are these places meant for those who are capable of helping the nation economically? Can Cameroon boast of a gross domestic product that is attractive? Can we boast of solving one economic problem we have employment? Can Cameroon be proud of recruiting its own citizens? If that was a problem, if those solutions would have been beaten presently in China or beaten up in Equatorial Guinea, in the other time they were beaten in Congo, in Gabon, and the other time was in Central African Republic. You cannot even imagine the grace we have had for all this period. It is a total sham, and I believe that the regime or otherwise has failed in having prospect or vision for what will go on in future. Can we serve a local Cameroonian a traditional African man from hunger for within 2 weeks. I'm telling you that the COVID-19, my brother, you need to come home. It is not easy. The whole place is down. The whole place is down. Cameroonians are left and right. Just after 3 weeks, just after a month, financially, what are we? In some governments, you see them having a minimum package for all family. Even if a liter of groundnut oil, a bag of rice, even tablet of soap, Cameroonians are looking, or I mean, it's a nation that we are presently accepting, that we are waiting for the coming of the Messiah, and that the intervention of the Messiah that we are waiting to save Cameroon is still to come. We are still waiting until that day will come. Then Cameroonians will know that there can be a difference. So now, the strong man and the one that rules us, and that is serving in Cameroon, is the President of the Republic, Paul Biya. He remains the one people believe that he answers everything, and that his presence is what can guarantee Cameroon. It is only within him, and without him, people say we cannot exist. Remember, they have said he's a natural. I mean, when top politicians, top professors decide to connote the head of a system, a natural candidate, after him, there will be no Cameroon. After him, Cameroon will disappear. Can we just get that? This is what we call mental slavery. Free yourself from mental slavery, then you can see things otherwise. This is what Bob Marley said. We must always learn within the African context to keep and to strengthen. If we need to fight for the interests of the people, it is by us and within us. And that is what some of us are doing now, like the youth initiative, that to instill in Cameroonians another new brain of reasoning, another dimension in thoughts that we can do things otherwise, and that the 80 or the 14th century leaders can solve the 21st century problem. This is where we are, and I beg my pardon, I think you can get a lot from what I have just presented.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Ako John Ako. Now, dear friends and fans of Mr. Nanchop, those of you who are joining us on Facebook, please, I want you to click on your share button and share this message, share this broadcast. Now, I'm coming to, I think, one of the most exciting part of this, our interview today. And I know most of our viewers and fans will actually want to hear me ask these questions, and I want to represent them. Now, Dr. Ako John Ako, it is no secret that La République du Cameroon has lost autonomy over the former British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. It is no secret that La République du Cameroon has lost control of that territory. As a matter of fact, they have lost control over this colonial territory they have been manipulating and controlling for the last 60 years. Now, we've seen that there is this conflict between the Ambazonians, the former British Southern Cameroonians, and La République du Cameroon. We've seen that there have been a lot of atrocities committed by the soldiers, human rights abuses committed by the armies and the soldiers loyal to Mr. Biya. Now, I want to ask you a question about the Reconstruction and Development Committee that was just created by His Excellency of La République du Cameroon, Joseph Dion Gute. He appointed Minister Paul Tassong as national coordinator, and the former Kumbu mayor, I think his name is Njong Donatus, if I'm not mistaken, as the deputy national coordinator of Mr. Biya. Of Mr. Biya's plan, to reconstruct and develop the former British Southern Cameroons, which they have destroyed. The schools they've burnt down, the families they've displaced, the genocide they've perpetrated. Those are my own words now, I choose to call. Now, how do you think, what sense does this make politically that the soldiers of Mr. Biya are down on the streets of Ambazonia, or the former British Southern Cameroons, as someone might prefer to call, some might also prefer to call it the Northwest and Southwest. Okay, that's their own terminology. But what do you think? Does it make any sense talking about reconstructing that territory which they have lost control over, and they still have their soldiers moving over the streets, perpetrating acts of violence, human rights abuses, and yet they are talking about reconstructing that territory without communicating or addressing or talking with the people in charge of that territory, which I believe are the leaders and the leadership of Amazonia? Do you think it's a good idea? Is it a political agenda or strategy behind all these games we are seeing coming up? What could be the real plan behind all this?
Yeah, I believe very strongly that there might have been like a plan. Remember, the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, is trying to execute the recommendations of the National Dialogue. And one of those recommendations was for a follow-up commission. And one of these follow-up commission is that of reconstruction. If they are now to reconstruct, and you imagine that the same people are the same people being appointed left and right, and that first of all beat my imagination. And now we are going to construct. We ask whether the war has ended, because many people still instead stream into line to imagine if this commission was necessary now. As the war ended, if the war has ended, let the international community be aware that the war has ended. But remember again that to give the recognition they have had with the international community, it was urged that the recommendations of the National Dialogue should be implemented. And one of the ways that it could be implemented, I believe in that bank account of that commission, we have 90 billion francs CFA. And I ask, how much and to what extent is this money going to be used to build a whole village like Kwakwa that was completely devastated? Or we are going to construct a village like Dadi village in Manu division that was equally ruined? Or we are going to construct a village, which you know very well, Kembo, some about 15 kilometers from Manfred town, the biggest village in Manu division, that has simply been rattled down to nothing. There are a lot of these issues. It was a political agenda, and the political agenda is either to launder or to sanitize the actions of the government, and that they have passed on reconstruction. Remember some other time, we equally launched a voluntary fund for to help internally displaced persons in the Northwest and the Southwest. We have asked how much that fund has been used, how many people have been savaged from not sleeping in the bushes, or those who are in Nigeria, those who are in Central African Republic, those who are internally displaced in Douala and its environs. What has the government done to take them back home? Are they home to their villages? If people are not returning back home, what have we done to take them back home? Is there really security in that part? It is a whole lot of, in fact, limbo. I mean, the particular stalemate now which Cameroonians are living, that in the Northwest and the Southwest regions, schools are very active or partially active in Boya, Limbe, and maybe Bamenda town. But we ask, what of somebody living in Furawa? What of those in Isu? What are the other people like in a village like we, where people have completely deserted? And it comes to mind that either this government has in itself just to serve his political image, and we care less about that particular part of the region, and that whatever matters. Remember, elections were organized in those two regions, and the ruling party won with absolute majority. Can we sincerely now think that there is a need to rebuild that section, those particular regions? The reason is no. But the government is interested in laundering and watching its image with the international community. We are waiting. A commission that will be set up in 3 months' time will obviously give its report. The Disarmament Commission, we are still waiting. Fighters have come to them, and how many have received a new life? They need to give us the access. We need the Bilingualism Commission of Mafani Musonge equally be interested to give us the way forward and what Bilingualism Commission has achieved. We cannot come here to say that what the government has been doing are solid or durable solutions. We have simply called them what we call perishable, or how can I call short-lived initiative that will crumble very soon. I will not answer the plight of the Northwesterners and the Southwesterners. We are here. What we have that those who refuse that there was even no crisis, today they enjoy in palaces and they have all been given political appointment. We have equally learned at times in Cameroon, those who fight has never been the beneficiary, but that those who say no, or those who said there was no fight, have always benefited. Remember very strongly that within the fight between Estimuna and Ngufoncha, Estimu now was appointed Prime Minister, and Foncha loses control of the prime ministerial position in southern Cameroon. The same causes to produce the same effect. What we saw in the past is equally happening now, because most of those who are appointed are your brothers, and the reports that have been given has always been fake results. I remember the president in Rwanda, Paul Kagame, has to sack a minister for telling lies in a report. If such action should come to Cameroon, we too might profit very strongly, and then the government will sincere and honest report that the situation on the ground might not permit any developmental projects, construction initiative. We need to seek a long-lasting peace, not a short-term or perishable peace. We need sustainable peace that can give such institutions the impetus, the power, the enormosity to participate sincerely and build what they intended. To what extent this will be done, my brothers and sisters, fellow audience, we still have way to go. And that until the present regime is uprooted, we can't see things otherwise in this republic.
Dr. Akojo, many Ambazonians have expressed their expressed their anger. When they heard what Mr. Biya, of the president of La République du Cameroun, said, many Ambazonians, many former British Southern Cameroonians have expressed their bitterness by saying that they are in a conflict and they don't identify themselves as being under the authority of La République du Cameroun anymore. That this is just a provocation, this is just another game to show to the international community that, to blindfold or to manipulate the international community that they still have control over this area. Now, the great point of concern is, looking at what is happening, I said earlier before that it is no secret that La République du Cameroun, they have lost control over the former British Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. They've lost control over this territory. And we've had a lot of international bodies telling La République du Cameroun, in fact, telling Mr. Biya and his government to collaborate or to come to a dialogue with the people of Amazonia. None of this is taking place, yet we are seeing the government of Cameroon, La République du Cameroun, claiming of wanting to do some reconstruction work in that part, in that territory. Now, the point here is, which I am very disturbed about personally, is that, does this solve the problem? Does this bring back the millions of or hundred thousands of people who are in exile, who are in the neighboring countries? Not to talk about the internally displaced person. Will this bring back the lost souls, those who've been killed? Is this the right strategy? Is this what should... if you should advise the government of La République du Cameroun, what would you tell them now? Should they be going in for this, or should they be going in for a peace or a negotiation with the Amazonians?
It is not my opinion at this level now. Presently, I have said of it several times, and I don't think we keep on repeating, because that's what gets me again worried these days. Because people have asked me several times, since when you started talking, what has changed? Nothing has changed, because this government doesn't listen from its citizens, doesn't listen from the international community. This government that we have does what they think is right, and most often than not, you find them having that everything is about money. These people believe on budgeting, and that once there is a budget, they will do it, and that people will accept it. We have just seen that I said the Disarmament Commission created with Fayengo as the leader. No results. We have created Bilingual Commission with Peter Mafani Songe. No result. Now we are part to another commission, Reconstruction Commission. What result will they produce? It means they know very well that their institutions are they are obsolete and cannot handle this problem. A sincere and honest dialogue that will include all the belligerents, all the parties and the forces within the conflict zone is the way out. And remember, Tibor Nagy, the U.S. State Department for African Affairs, said it very clearly. Only sincere dialogue can save Cameroon. Cardinal, Its Eminence, Emeritus Cardinal Tumi has recommended for that. We have said it, and myself, we have reiterated. Only sincere dialogue, those who have been captured related to the crisis. If the government is going to construct, meaning the government already is guilty that he has destroyed a region. And so you cannot be accusing of other people whom you said they have destroyed, and they are in prison, and you are going to develop what you did not participate in the destruction. Government is a victim, and they will tell you, like what we just saw in the most recent incident, like the Ngabo massacre, that is a total buck, and that it is a total failure from the part of the government. We just have to look at it. We are not answering that question again, because all these institutions are just created at times. Some of us who are politically inclined are saying that it is a way to take perspective for three of the 2018 elections in the Northwest and the Southwest, those who participated and gave the CPDM the victory in the just ended legislative election. What I come on, I will say, has no basis. And I will tell you that I have been in a country, this one that we are, is that talk what you want, and the government does what he wants. It is not like when we have a developed state, where speeches and freedom of expression has had an impact in the actions of the government. Remember in the UK, the moment we criticized Theresa May, it was enough for her to leave. And she left, criticized the government, and even ministers, they resigned. In Cameroon, criticize a minister tomorrow. I will not tell you, give you wrong information. I'm telling you is that just the next 2-3 months, they were appointing to a more prestigious position. Remember what happened with the construction infrastructure for Cameroon to host the 2021 African Cup of Nations. All what we have received is that all those who were involved in the saga, they have now received or had new ranks, and others have become ministerial, even when they were without portfolio. The same stadiums that were running out of budget have been refinanced by the same government, and nothing is said about that. In a country where you have to buy a trip of sand for about 700,000 because it's a public contract, and a bag of cement at about 16,400. With such tax, what do we need? This regime was meant to eat, and then the guys will keep on eating. In each time, as many will tell you, say no to two, less no manger. And that is what they are doing. So when we have to construct, if there is going to be any negotiations, sincere negotiation can never take place with the present regime, except people have to pray, as I said, that the whole nation needs fasting and prayers for this regime to totally be uprooted. Because with this present regime, change can never come to Cameroon. Forget about the other problems happening in the Northwest and the Southwest. What of the economic problems in the other regions that are quiet? You have not been to the South, the very region. You have not been to the East region. My brother, if you visit those places, you will imagine that there are towns without light. In those places, even get noise from. We are living, it is like the country has been caged. I call it a political kidnapping of a particular hostage. The whole nation has been caged up, and Cameroonians, when you move around, you find your beer, you can drink successfully. If you move in your food, you eat and you sleep, God will provide for all tomorrow. So we all live as one, and only God alone will handle that situation. That is a stalemate. We cannot talk psychologically. In fact, top political analysts in Cameroon have always had things very wrong. The same minister says something today, and the next morning, a fellow minister debunks or rebukes the information. That's happened. Nothing has been in Cameroon as politically stratified or classified internationally. Nothing happens with the science. Here we or rule within tradition. The government is. We want not what Cameroonians want, not what the international community want. But when it comes to acquiring or taking a loan, we will accept IMF, we accept the World Bank, African Union. Then when it comes to changing policies, this same institution give us instruction. Remember, African Union has spoken. Remember, the World Health, the World Bank has spoken. The European Union and many other international partners to Cameroon. None will accept. Cameroon government will never say to international pressure, and they have told us and reminded us that they do what they want. They don't work with what Cameroonians want. Thank you.
In the movie, The 10 Commandments, Moses said to Pharaoh, "We are to be governed by God's laws, not by you." In effect, he was trying to say that we will not be governed by persons unless that person embodies the law, respects the law. In the best societies in the world, and of course in the best organizations, natural laws and principles govern. They give guardians, they govern. Now, looking at La République du Cameroun, with which most of us I mean, the British, the former British Southern Cameroonians, the Ambazonians, have recognized the fact that they've been in this union of federation. I mean, they had this union of federation, and then by some political manipulation, the whole system was changed. Now we have a lot of individuals who are still claiming and hoping that there should be a reconsideration of the federal structure or system they had or we had in that country, and that there should be a kind of federation. And we even heard La République du Cameroun talking about a special status to the Ambazonians, to the people of the former British Southern Cameroons, which most of them have considered as an insult. Now, politically looking at this thing, looking at the conflict, looking at the system and the leadership of La République du Cameroun, I would call the colonial leadership of La République du Cameroun, you as a political analyst, do you think it will ever be possible for the people of Ambazonia, aka the former British Southern Cameroonians, to live again in any unit or union with La République du Cameroun? What are your assessments?
Yeah, you remember that, as you have said, you said it very right. Some elites are presently within and they are doing well, and they will still tell you that there have been no division. I don't want to cite names, but within me and you can't imagine that. And what we have to know again is not only within the Bible. If you have read the theories of Hart, H.D. Hart, and again of Jeremy Bentham, you will equally realize that there's what we call natural law. We have divine laws, and then we have sometimes again human man-made laws. And we, within Cameroon, we should not be talking of the principles or the 10 commandments in the Bible, because people will tell you that they are not religious leaders or they are not teaching religion, and that they are within the political atmosphere. So they are being governed by man-made laws. The man-made laws in Cameroon, one person has the knife and the yam. This particular individual is the one that dictates who goes to court. It is one that dictates who should be arrested. He is the one that dictates who should be appointed. He is the one that dictates who should be dismissed. He is the chief of the armed forces, and again, the highest magistracy. We have a lot of that, and we will continue to work on that particular platform. We here, I would tell you that many are still cementing, a lot of them pushing forward and having comfortable positions within the same government. It happens like that. Remember, John Kufoncha could only resign after about 20 years in the union. You can imagine from what they call the CNU party, you can imagine how it took them. You imagine the story surrounding Ndele, how he went and advised his brother Foncha that a gradual federation would have been better than complete federation. But since he was a minority, he was not. And today, you have our own brothers who are in parliament, and you could see this eminence. I mean, the most powerful of them was Joseph Weber, and you know how he has been thrown out. Who cares about that? They will continue managing. One of the admirable they create is that to discourage Cameroonians. If all of us can go abroad and they stay in Cameroon and considered leaders, that is better. Country is doing well, and we are progressing. Southern Cameroon is doing well. Northwest and the Southwest has no problem. And we have been seeing that. Who cares about you few not coming? Political and military occupation will continue acting. In fact, it is a lone war they are financing, considering that in the Boko Haram, the North, it is an international engagement. Other countries are helping and assisting logistically. So Cameroon internally has one war. But the fun is, how do you have a war against your own people within the same territory? The moment you take arms within a particular system where you are the leader, then there is a problem. Then you are creating the situation rather than that you are solving the problem. We cannot put the military to fight one another within a nation. There is a need for peace. So whether people can never look the life the same, we need to feel it and impact. We don't need magicians or soothsayers to tell us. Get to the streets in Dop. Go to Ndu, to Kiliwindi. Try to get to Furawa and find out. Ask a common mother on the streets, do you think you would like to be here? I mean, the response will not be different. Because when people look at the destruction, the pains, how many deaths, their own children, neighbors lost in the name of fighting a fellow brother, I will tell you that it still remains. As I've said, the conflict that has come never started today. Remember, from the time we said that the third option was thrown at the nation. So this problem might not even be a Cameroonian problem. It was an international orchestra. In fact, the United Nations cooked it up, and that part of a territory should not be independent. Why was the third option thrown away? They will give you reasons that they never had popularity, and so there was no need for it. And this is the same basis. Why can the United Nations, looking at this level now, remember how many people have died in Africa because of coronavirus, and after we have decided to take measures to resolve the issue, and compare with how many people have died just in the Northwest and the Southwest region. I mean, the number that have been killed in the Southwest is greater than what the coronavirus has killed for the entire African continent, but no decision has been taken to salvage the situation. Imagine that when demons reign, when a demon reigns in your mind, you walk by the tune of the demon, by the witches of the biblical expression, whether the laws or the divine laws as written in the Bible exist. Africans believe in their juju, others believe in their occultic groups, others believe in their non-practicing or what are African traditional practices. This is the government in Cameroon. People play with juju even at the level of the ministries. People play with juju even in their cars. So how do you want them to work by human-driven laws? Whether that part of the country becomes together or not, I will tell you that this present government, except the United Nations, now that we are, except the United Nations, but we still doubt, because a lot of them who are members and agencies of these various states that make up the United Nations are lobbying, and contracts have been renewed. I don't want to insist. I believe you might have learned of the renewal of the British gas company in Cameroon, which created a lot of confusion within the House of Commons during this very period. You can imagine the coming of Patricia Scotland to Cameroon, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. All those instances will remind us, if they come and visit first, giving the authority of this region to that particular party, why can't they leave that they want to visit Boe, where you people and many others believe that is the capital of southern Cameroon? How can a British top official visit Yaoundé and make Yaoundé a priority? Until we have to throw such an alarm, they come and stay in the palace, they drink the same Scotch whiskey, take refined wine from France or Bordeaux, and they are comfortable, and then they will go home. Just imagine, my brother, it is a very hard nut to crack, whether together or not. If you forces the only messiah at this level to salvage the crisis is only the international community. And until serious measures are taken, if not, the government knows it's winning and the situation has been managed and that the climate is getting better.
We saw the video. I mean, it's not a surprise. We all saw the video when Mr. Biya arrived at the Yaoundé Simalène airport of his country, La République du Cameroon, and declared war upon the people of the former British Southern Cameroon's Amazonians. He declared war on them, called them terrorists, used narrative to banish and denish them and blackmail them and to give them a negative image. We saw all those videos. Now, the question I have in my mind seeing that is it politically correct for a president to declare war on his citizens if he claims that these are people who belong to his country? Is it politically correct? Secondly, taking into consideration that the international community have been so dormant, why do you think they've been so dormant about Paul Biya's declaration of war on the people of the former British Southern Cameroons?
Thank you. They are not dormant. We cannot say they are dormant because they are equally saying that they've been acting seriously to help the head of state to equally take solutions or measures. In fact, I said the U.S. Secretary of State for African Affairs. You can imagine Fakir of the African Union was here, Patricia Scotland was here, and equally the Secretary General of La Francophonie. All of them, they are here, and I said they are all stooges. They are toothless bulldogs, and they have nothing to offer because in either of their nations, the government that delegates them have no problem. Their contracts are being renewed. they are still eating and eating bigly and realize that there is just no problem changing the stalemate. There is no need, and that the problem are those who take arms against the government. We have believed, and we have several times, that if you attack an individual in his house with a gun and you think the individual should not complain, it becomes a problem within this, that they might not complain because they can use their knife or use their machete. These are some of the stakes. These are some of the things. People can use their mortar pistol if you attack them at home. And this was the situation in southern Cameroon. I believe very strongly that we can look at the situation of what happened on the 1st and the 27th of September 2017. 27th of September and 1st of October 22nd of September 2017 and the 1st of October same year. You remember Southern Cameroonians with peace trees, and what they could have was just a total met with bullets and armories. And it has never created an international situation. Remember when Syria military brought down a Ukrainian plane, it becomes an international investigation because the big four.
And Menzi precisely, they are moving from the central deal to the SD.
Continue, sir. Continue, sir.
My humble opinion, fight the same people, but then it was an international inquiry set up for Syria over the Ukrainian case. The using of chemical weapon by the Assad regime. Another commission was set up. Why is the situation in Cameroon peculiar? These guys are all eating. They are danger. In fact, in Syria, Russia has the interest majority. Iranians are fighting in the international geopolitical game that will keep on reigning among international organizations. So within our limit, proceed to see that since we have no strong international recommendation now to fight for the interests of this particular war that was declared on the two regions of the Northwest, the conscience of a people can serve them as a right and think of doing things otherwise. That if really these are my people, why should I take arms against them? But this is not the case. And so they believe very strongly, and they have the truth, that the problem, the maneuver to close up a federal system in Cameroon was equally went up because of the oil rich in Limbe and the Bakassi Peninsula. And today, if you know of these stakes, a lot of other minerals have been discovered in the same region, left and right. They can never leave you because this other part of the tree has just dry land and nothing on the ground to sell. You have the forest, the plantations, you have the natural resources like petrol, oil. What do you want to do? So they will always come, and there is no need, because these same people are the one exploiting on the Rio de Janeiro block. I mean, we are talking of the block in Bakassi. Production is already going on, and so all that, those contracts have been renewed. Why do you want the international community and international partners not to support this particular system? The guys are eating, and they're eating very big, and that is how the problem will continue. You continue giving people arms to fight and kill yourself, then the foolishness is of you, and that will always continue to exist. So within us, learn several times that we will keep on to respect what we have. We will keep on to look at the situation in Cameroon and think and fight for that particular atmosphere. We are in a present situation. I will tell you that even common electricity we might not have. And remember, last time we have almost a similar situation, and it's the same situation having here. We will need to maybe to use a torch to complete part of this program, and that is how Cameroon has been. Even what you don't have electricity cannot stay on for over 1 hour without having it breach. This is where we are, and that is how we have been.
It's rather a pity. It's rather a pity. Thank you, sir, for your analysis. Now, I want to ask you a question. Looking at the conflict between the between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia, we've heard of the Swiss talks. We've heard the international community asking both sides to go to the Swiss talks. Now, what is your take on the Swiss talk, and how do you think it will politically influence this crisis?
Yeah, you know, several times, it's not the first time. I believe I've answered a lot of these questions. There is a need to give peace a chance, no matter what it is, whatever it takes to bring peace, whatever it takes to settle up this stalemate which we have been, and the fear, the torture, the hunger, and the injuries we have created in the mind of Southern Cameroonians. There is always the beginning to something. And I believe strongly that this is what we are all supposed to accept. And I have said several times, no matter the grudges people are having, the Swiss talk should be endorsed by all forces and given a trial. And when we talk of a talk, when we talk of a mediation process, it is not going to end up in a single. It will simply come at one point to give us the right that we want, and that concessions will be made. They can never get into any talk and there are no concessions made. The talks will be made in both sides, and we will proceed in that particular atmosphere within it. So please, we have within several times to continue to with an intelligent is the best that we can do now, because that is the lone nation. I mean, Switzerland is the lone nation that is capable of standing. So why not give it the international recognition? Why not give it the international understanding that even bring the problem more to light? And remember, a mediation process at times may become institutionalized, which means that it may not just end up one time. It will drive its agenda, and every day a lot of issues can be added on the agenda. This is where we are, and then we will continue to act. Don't fight for what you don't have. Try to look at what we don't have. Let's fight for what we can lay hands on now and keep dialogue promising. It is very, very important for us. Within the Cameroonian standard, I have insisted, government might tell you that they have organized their dialogue and that there is no second dialogue again. So should we stay quiet and not allow this particular Swiss talk to hold, where we may create another institution of dialogue that may even endorsed by the United Nations? We need all this, and we'll do it well. Please, everybody involved within the struggle should try by all means to endorse the Swiss talk and give it the international recognition it needs. It will be proper that only us, Southern Cameroonians, people in the Northwest and the Southwest, who thought that they were fighting for something, and start again at the same time giving a lukewarm attitude towards the Swiss talk and thinking it should not work. We need it as a first step to peace, as a first step to providing a long-lasting and sustainable solution. All those, all without rejection, that think they are forces and maintaining order or disorder in this region, need to attend the Swiss talk and present their worries and their shortcomings within this particular environment.
Talking about the Swiss talks shortly, what do you think is delaying La République du Cameroon to participate in the Swiss talks?
Yeah, very briefly, nothing in them. As I said at the very beginning, this is a government that does not act on what Cameroonians want. This is a government that only acts on what they want. And they said they have organized their dialogue already, and that there is no second dialogue. They don't even need an international organization or international government to give them the wish for them to stand. It is very, very embarrassing and very poor for you and I standing here that we know that what we call a grand national dialogue was just a monologue. And this is what the government is depending on, knowing that it was that which he becomes an architect, and that they institutionalize it and make it one of their instruments. That is why they are going out realizing the agenda on all what has been written or what was accepted at the national dialogue to prove that there is no need for a Swiss talk. But we, those people in the Northwest and the Southwest, we think that there is a need where the one instead to come together, unite, and press the international pressure that Swiss talk is necessary. This is what it is, and that is what we can.
Thank you, sir. Now, fans and friends of Mr. Nanchop, I'm going to put the telephone number on the screen. If you have my telephone number, you can call. I would like us to have, I'll just take about 2 or 3 calls for Dr. Akojon before we round up this particular program of today. So to those of you who might want to call and ask 1 or 2 questions, please, the lines are open now for your calls. Meanwhile, Dr. Akojon, I want to ask you this one more question. We know we have many Southern Cameroonians who are of different opinions. I mean, some are saying that they are for a federation or a refederation with La République du Cameroon. And of course, we know that the vast majority are for independence. Now, the point here is, I'm not going to ask your own personal stance on this, but what do you think, and why do you think that Ambazonia should refederate with La République? Is there any reason you think there should be another federation with La République du Cameroon? Taking into consideration what happened to the first federation or federal structure?
Remember, it is not within, or we are not taking it as going back to federation. But we need to know too that when the crisis started, when the Gogomo Commission and many others moved to Bamenda to talk to the Anglophone Consortium, you remember that one of the points that created real deep problem was going back to federation, and that they said going to federation can never be. In international politics and within the game of making concession against, there is a need to accept a step forward rather than rejecting the same step. Yes, federation, there are federalists, there are unionists, there are independentists. What do? We just need to work with that. When we get to the Swiss talk, put this all, that is the agenda at the end of the day. When such decisions are made, there will be a referendum like it was done, and the referendum should have these options on the table. Back to the federation, remember and very strongly think that if we can go back first to 1961, they should, like I said, a gradual federation to watch at everybody's wishes or actions before making some other steps to our process. We should draw a calendar and timetable that in 15 years it is possible for us to come back, and then we will adjourn and try to negotiate and see if federation has worked. If it has not worked, for those who are independentists or those who are asking for unionists, they may keep on striving that we should come together. I don't want to think that presently, I know a lot of people feel pains whenever we talk of federation. A lot of people feel pains of those who have been killed. There has even been no war on earth than the holy wars that were fought between Christians and Muslims. There have never been a war that has killed. But remember, Christianity and Islam still remains the major religious powers in the world. And they have accepted to live alongside, and until now they can dine and eat and celebrate on this. And within our times, certainly in certain mosques, you still find Christians and Muslims praying together. So whatever, where it started, it is at times for us to look at where we have been and where we see if we can make a sacrifice to let go, maybe what I call grudges or anger, and then accept certain institutions that can bring us a better peace.
Thank you. We have the first caller on the line. Hello, sir, and welcome to Amber Voice with Mr. Nanchop.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. This is UN calling from Los Angeles. I want to extend my greetings to Dr. Ako he's been doing to educate not only Southern Cameroonians, Africans, and the world at large. And I also need to just caution some Ambazonians who might have been watching that Dr. Akko is somebody who is preaching to teach the whole world. So he is explaining how a good government is supposed to function, the role of leaders and whatsoever. So it is for your own good to take it and apply to your society, even if you are a Nigerian who is watching the show. So because I don't want some people to come here, maybe some francophones or La Republic ministers or what, they believe that he is the one giving education to Ambazonians, or some Ambazonians say that why is he talking of La Republic or La Republic? Dr. Akko is a professor, is a doctor who teaches everybody. So it's like you learn something from here, you go and apply it in your own house, your own home. So thank you, Doctor, for all what you have been saying there. And I want to stress the fact that I'm happy Dr. Akko said the problem we're having in Southern Cameroon, for example, can only be solved within the framework of the international community. Yes, because, you know, Cameroon government, whenever there is a problem, they say they are independent, they are sovereign states. The only time they believe that they are not a sovereign state is when they want to go abroad to borrow money for maybe international community and whatsoever. So, and now you have to understand that nothing can take Cameroon, Cameroon itself is not even independent. That is the reason why Pobia cannot even form a government in Cameroon without going to France to go and seek permission there, because there are clauses that they already put. They might say, oh, a American man can never be president in Cameroon, or this one can never be this and that. And last time we saw Pobia in France, he said he went there to give accountability to French President Macron about the just ended national dialogue. We also saw Macron who said he instructed Pobia to release Kanto. So which means that, like the Banda Mole said in 1992, Pobia's hands are tied. That is how it is. So if we believe that the problem we have in Southern Cameroon can be solved by Pobia, now that is a mistake. That is a mistake, because even if we sit down to talk with them, it will still end up like with the national dialogue that ended. Those federalists who went there, the Abobala and the rest, even Kadinatumi, they discussed, they sent everything to the presidency, but when they came back, they said, oh, this is not what we discussed. So because anything you discuss, the president has the power to change it to suit their content. So we really need an international solution to this matter, because declaring independence on the 1st of October 2017, it means that we internationalize our case. Therefore, we only need international mediation, like international organization like United Nations, or maybe like a country like like the Swiss government, with the Swiss talks that has been endorsed by European Union, America, Belgium, Holland, and the rest. So at this juncture, what qualifies us to be the problem to be international problem is because we have a government, we have the institutions, we have the land and all those kind of stuff. Those who are against the Swiss talks, irrespective of the fact that they say they are fighting to free you people Ambazonians, just know that we cannot be free or gain independence that will come on the table and negotiate with La Republic one by one, except in the presence of the international community and out of La Republic. And those who are against the institution of the government today, like the Wiba, the Fontaine, the Akoro, the Ayutabe, and the rest, because they say they want to form a common platform, it means that is an indirect way of giving out the option of sovereignty. If you put aside the government, it means you are no longer for sovereignty. Remember, since 2017, the international community is watching. They know we have a government. What is their role? They watch to see if we can sustain it. How do you think the international community can still come and give you independence if after 3 years you are unable to govern yourself? La Republic will come and tell them, you see, these people, they are unable to manage a government for 3 years, so do you think it is for the 10 or 15 years that they are going to do? It's the same justification that they had in 1961 that they said we were not ready for independence. So, brothers and sisters, we are saying that Ambazonia or Southern Cameroon shall be ruled by democratic institutions, shall be ruled by people we elect them, who will be answerable to us, those that we can take them, they can give accountability. You don't want to give it, to put you aside. We are not going to be pampering people like, I heard doctors say that, like they used to say in La Republic, that you don't need to change Pobia because after Pobia there's no other person. I also hear some of us saying that Ayub Tabe, for example, is a natural president. We don't work like that. Our Anglo-Saxon culture, it doesn't permit us to be working like that. See, just yesterday I saw Abu Bara. He was annoyed because the post office went and submitted an application at Bia and Kobak. It was rejected because it was in English. So Bala was now crying. I'm asking Bala, why is it that you are begging to belong with La Republic? Don't think that a stone will be in water for 10 years, it will never become a crocodile. Yes, that is how it is. We have all the resources, all what it takes for us to be a nation. Why must we bow down and begin to pamper La Republic, thinking that we can be using the same scenario on all those things and then we expect different answers? So this is telling that we don't need people to sit and stand on the fence. Our elders, they committed an error. But then, you cannot quote them today that, oh, it was an error. The opportunity has come since 2016 up to today that we have to solve it. So if you are not for total independence of La Republic, by the way, let me tell people, you always need to aim high. Do not go and say you are aiming low, thinking that somebody will come and add you something on it. It cannot work like that.
Thank you.
It cannot work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think that was rather a contribution than a question to you, Dr. Aku. We have the next caller on the line, and I believe you should be having a question. Let me just get this caller. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir, I can get you. So what's your question or your contribution?
Yes, I want to thank Dr. Aku. I think I'm his follower in Equinox. I want to ask him this question. Imagine that you have 2 kids or 3 kids, and one of them, the kids are they're fighting. I'm so surprised that up to now our Republic so-called brothers, they are so silent. So meaning that we are not part of them. And even in the assembly, when the parliamentarians are reacting, they are so silent. So do you want us to force ourselves that we are brothers when they don't take us like brothers? How do you feel? So I want him to answer me that question, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Well, Dr. Aku John, I think you got the last caller and you got his question.
Yeah, thank you. It is a worry. At times, nations are born, nations are built, nations will happen, nations can fight together. In fact, where you are, if you are in Los Angeles or you're in California or you're in Kansas, I believe you have learned of the American Civil War. But these wars that were fought within the Americans or the American Wars of Independence never separated them. But I will insist very strongly that what we realized was that those that were born just after took upon themselves not to commit the errors of the past. And that is why America has become one of the strongest nations on earth, with about 1 state, the United States, the strongest economy in the world, because they have seen the reason of living together and joining forces. I will tell you equally that the French Republic, has had more than 4 French republics being declared. I will tell you that people are happily living together. The British Wars of Independence, you need to learn. When issues come out of war, it means our Francophone brothers, we cannot believe at the beginning of this crisis, we said the educational system in English Cameroon is different from what France left with its colonies in Africa. When you look at the whole world in Africa, the whole Africa, your pardon, in all Francophone African countries, you see that there are wars. Meaning, war is an instrument of governance. Divide and rule was instituted so that we keep on fighting among ourselves and then killing ourselves and then fighting back our own very problem. This is what La République is doing. They did that with the UPC party. It's not because they were Francophone. The decay on what we call the Les Maquis. You remember that when they accepted that there was no way the people, the Bassa could not go anywhere, the Bamilikis could not go anywhere, they are now living within the same Cameroon. We can equally, as I said, for a long-lasting peace, there is always, in fact, in my dialect, they say even if these containers are calabashes, they too used to mumu. So meaning they always talk among themselves. There is a conflict at home and a child, between a mother and a father, and even between families or families. Families have never fallen apart. Can we get to the Swiss talk? All what we are asking you will be taken and written. That will be very, very bad. So together has never stopped conflicts. Conflicts is a resultant consequence of social. Together, human beings. There is a need that conflicts can never be extinguished. It's a continuous management, and that such a system should be institutionalized. That's why we are crying here. At a very early stage, we needed the head of state to consider Southern Cameroonians as Cameroonians and then talk back to them. We need that, and we will continue to do it, and that is why getting here. We need to born a new brain. Let's get back to 1961. It will be proper, and so aside that if 1961 is the option and that the option should win, why can't we accept it and start pushing further from there? It is not just the plan. Nigeria has about 31 states or 36 states, and they are living comfortably. Even though we still internal change. Remember the decision taken to end the Biafran war. There's a whole commission in Nigeria of the Delta development of the Delta region. Come that too, that when it is a concession accepted by all parties, that whatsoever that is, let's get back to the federation and see how independence flow. If it is not going, it is the same people that made up the laws. Laws are made by man, and we can at any time decide how it look like. There is a need for honesty. There is a need for sincerity. That is what we are talking of, a sincere and inclusive dialogue. All those who were caught relating to this particular standard or crime or crisis should be released, and those who have been killed, a state apology should be rendered to the people of Southern Cameroon, recognizing the fault that they have committed. There is always a need for us to let go, personal anger for a general interest. Remember, Nelson Mandela passed 27 years in prison, but when he came out, he created the National Conciliation Commission. Now we have this of such commissions created in many other parts that fruits, like in Uganda, like Angola, like in Rwanda. You have a lot of those things. You think because they were not angry, do you know how many Hutus and Tutsis were killed? Are the people not living presently as one nation? We need to otherwise and get a concession for our people so that these errors will not be committed again.
Thank you, Dr. Ako John Ako. Now, fans and friends of Mr. Nanchop, I want to get this point very straight. Mr. Ako John is entitled to his own opinion, and we don't have to crucify him for that. We on this platform, we want to encourage freedom of speech. Everyone has the right to call and to express their opinion. I've opened the lines for telephone calls. You also have the right to call and give in your own contribution. Now, it is not a secret that over 98% of Amazonians are having different opinion, are for total independence. Now, Dr. Ako John, I want to thank you so much, and I want to give you 1 minute, sir, to give a word of advice to the people of the people of Amazonia, most especially of the British Southern Cameroons, about this matter of COVID. I know you are at the ground. You know what is happening. I just wanted to talk to the people, give them some advice on how to handle this matter seriously. You are seeing what is happening at the ground. You know what is happening there. So you may have 1 or 2 words to say to the people as an advice.
I believe the first thing, what you need to know, that if it is from the Northwest and the Southwest, lockdown or stay at home has just been part of their governance. And meaning when we have what we call ghost towns, this we have been used to. Then we think that entirely there are traditional practices that we have to maintain, that people should keep on warming themselves. They should take a lot of traditional issues to take when we are sick of malaria, cough, and catarrh, and that people should keep away from crowd. There is no need, it is not a time that we should always take that when somebody dies, we must attend the burial. It is not, because these are what I call incubators for such diseases. And obligatorily, I mean, everyone's supposed to carry a face mask, at least a face mask, which has been locally made, and that which can be, in fact, at any time, watched and maybe treated good hygienic conditions. These are the things we are saying. So we should, at one point, try to maintain instructions that have been given for this COVID-19. We wash our hands regularly. Avoid using your hand on your mouth, your nose, or your eyes. We need to act as recommended by health experts. We need to equally keep our environment clean, and within it, we will realize that COVID-19 will just be a history after some days. We need to take patience, that it's a health hazard, and that we have been given some duration to respect while staying away from jangi or what we call meeting houses. We can save a situation within this period with respect to stay home and then wash our hands, use hand sanitizer, and a lot of that. These are just very brief. I will tell people, avoid huge gatherings, death ceremonies, sackcloths, weddings, and all the like. Please avoid such environment because you don't know who your neighbor is.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ako John Ako, for attending to our invitation. And of course, we are looking forward to having you more often on this platform. Thank you so much, and a lovely greeting to your family. Now, I want to use this opportunity to say something. We can hear the voice of the children play at the background. This is a confirmation to us that this man is a family man. I mean, he's somebody who loves family, and he's a good husband too. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Nanchop. Thank you for this opportunity. I will continue exchanging other times.
Great. Fans and friends of Mr. Nanchop, this has been Amber Voice with Mr. Nanchop. Now, I must say this. I must say that I am an individual and I stand for the independence of the people of the former British Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. I am 100%. And we know very well that we have over 98% who are for the independence of Ambazonia. Now, Dr. Ako John is an Ambazonian. He's a British Southern Cameroonian. He's entitled to his opinion, and I think we can respect that, and we should respect that. Please, now, I want to use this opportunity to say this, that in the next days, I'll be having some other guests on this platform. I'll be having the Manu chair come to talk to us about the Manu County. Now, there are a lot of things that have been happening in Manu, that beautiful county in our territory, and he's giving me the assurance that he wants to come and clear up the air. He wants to come and express himself, and he wants us to give the Manu people our support. So this Friday, 7 p.m. Amber time, I'll be having the Manu chair here with me on this platform. You don't want to miss that particular interview. Now, I also want to use this opportunity to thank you guys. Those of you who love my page, you like what we are doing, you like our objectivity, you like our fairness, and you like the work. So just go to the page and click on the like button, promote this page, share this video. We've had Dr. Ako John talk to us about the atmosphere of things, most especially the political atmosphere of things in La République du Cameroon. He's addressed a lot of issues that are pertaining to this conflict between Ambazonia, or the former British Southern Cameroons, and La République du Cameroon as a political analyst, you know. And of course, he has given us his own standpoint. And on this platform, I want to say something. We are open to everyone. We are open to everyone. You might have your own different opinion. Come to this platform. Let's share ideas. You know, I like it when we respect ourselves, when we talk about those things that are genuine. Now, one other thing I really want to make mention of is that, please, it's high time we take charge over our territory and control ourselves. Listen, we not give the international community any good image about we when we fight ourselves or kill ourselves. It don't make sense. We know if they fight La Republic, we fight ourselves. They look with us, so we no serious. Just like one caller called talk say, they will test the people, and if they govern themselves, they fight and kill themselves. We not see. So that's some serious thing what we get for take them for this revolution right now. Now I will be rounding up this program right now. I have a special, nice, beautiful video. You may not want to miss it. It's a funny video, and I'm going to put it on the screen immediately after this podcast. And I would like to say stay tuned to Mr. Nanchop and stay tuned to Amber Voice. Have a nice time and enjoy this beautiful piece of music. And after this music, of course,